After a plane crash, a couple finds themselves stranded on a remote, uninhabited island in the middle of the ocean, only to uncover its shocking secrets. Sara and Jackson, a couple in love, sit in a bar watching videos. They met on the tropical island of Mauritius and spent an adventure-filled year together. On their last night before Sara flies to London for her new job, she asks Jackson to join her. He chooses to stay, leading to an awkward silence, and Jackson offers her another beer. Sara, who detests saying goodbye, intends to flee after John departs for a little while. Confused, Jackson makes his way back and searches for his true love. Sara finds herself back in Mauritius a year later, this time for her closest friend's wedding. After work, the girl feels liberated once more. On behalf of the bride, she comes at the home of an old acquaintance, Solomon, but first it appears that no one is there. As soon as Sara jumps the fence, a vengeful dog attacks her. The girl scales the fence once more, but happily, the home's owner emerges. In preparation for the party, his helpers pack containers of rum into the girl's pickup vehicle.
It's the good stuff. It's like rocket fuel.
Later, Sara meets up with Pascal and other old friends, and they party together like they did a year ago. The best friends decide to have a cocktail at the bar owned by Pascal. The bride says the celebration will take place on the nearby island of Rodriguez, where a ferry is scheduled to take them early in the morning. With her job allowing her to work from home, Pascal asks her pal if she wants to stay here this time. A tinge of uncertainty permeates the girl's statement that she is required in London. Jackson exits off the boat with his pals as it gets closer to the dock. Pascal discloses his relationship with his girlfriend and the opening of his own diving school on the island. Knowing that her ex-partner will be attending an evening beach party, Sara is humiliated to be told she has to meet him before the wedding. The girl stares at Jackson non-stop during the celebration. Finally, having worked up the courage, she decides to approach him first, which irritates his new girlfriend. He decides to leave the party, but the girl does not give up and offers to walk him home. Once Sara softens Jackson during the stroll, they go to his place and have a drink together. Wearing her life jacket with flirty abandon, the girl engages in open flirtation with the male. Playfully, Jackson sets it directly on top of her. Feelings between the two resurface as a result of their newfound intimacy. Jackson holds back on giving Sara the kiss she wants. His words are earnest when he says he hopes she won't turn on him once more. Remembering one other's transgressions and grudges, they start arguing.
I'm sorry I wanted more than this. I wasn't content to just float around in a perpetual gap year.
While having a furious disagreement, they draw nearer and share a deep kiss. In the morning, after a stormy night, Sara decides to run off again without saying a word. Enraged, Pascal calls her and informs her that she has missed the only ferry that will take her to the wedding venue. Finding herself in a desperate situation, Sara arrives at her elderly friend Freddie's house. He consents to bring the girl along. When the girl finds out that Jackson has also consented to travel to the wedding with Freddie, she is taken aback. Taking a case of rum, the three of them load up aboard the aircraft. Freddie asks Sara to take over as co-pilot while Jackson is sleeping during the trip. They start talking about relationships, and the man shares that his wife recently passed away following a protracted illness. He makes reference to her and Jackson when he informs the girl that love isn't always simple. Sara used to take pilot lessons from Freddie, so he suggests she take the wheel. He reminds her of the basic safety rules. After receiving her final instructions, Sara shuts off the autopilot and prepares to take control of the plane. When Jackson awakens, he finds under his feet a gas cylinder that was not properly fastened. Abruptly, Freddie begins to cough violently, struggling to breathe. As Jackson works to fasten the cylinder, he hears Sara yelling loudly that the elderly guy is suffering a heart attack. The main pilot collapses headfirst into the steering wheel, causing the jet to plummet into free fall, and the tablets have no effect. The plane's windshield cracks as the cylinder falls off once more. Jackson almost makes there in time to grab Freddie and yank him from the wheel. Sara is able to straighten the plane and recover altitude just before it crashes into the water. Jackson drags Freddie's body away and tries to give him CPR. But precious rescue time is lost, and the guy tearfully covers his breathless body with his jacket. The pair discovers that the plane's GPS is malfunctioning and that their phones aren't connected to any networks, leaving them unsure of their whereabouts once he assumes the chief pilot seat. Jackson and Sara attempt to use the radio to contact with the outside world.
We don't even know which direction we're going in. We have no idea where we are. We could really use some help, so please, please, please.
The pair becomes even more anxious when no one attempts to get in touch. The autopilot, which is meant to lead them to Rodriguez Island, is their only hope. But it doesn't take long to realize that the damaged cylinder has harmed crucial control system devices, including the autopilot. The fact that there is barely half a tank of petrol remaining complicates matters. Freddie has given Sara some rudimentary flying instruction. Thus, Sara needs to get the plane to safety. The couple is startled to see a storm moving toward them. The plane begins to shake, but Jackson is confident that they will make it through the storm cloud in time. At last, they get in touch with Samuel, the air traffic controller in the area. After reporting back to him, the pair requests assistance. They must instantly alter course, the air traffic controller warns, or they will run out of fuel for the journey. They had to fly straight through the storm and west in order to reach shore as soon as possible. Jackson expresses dissatisfaction with this possibility and requests that they land the aircraft on the water.
Do not attempt to land on the water. You will crash and sink. We have no way of locating you.
There is no communication as the storm moves in. The couple's only option is to take off into the center of the storm. They are engulfed in heavy clouds and see lightning flare ahead. Sara is instructed by Jackson to relocate to the main pilot's seat in order to view the instruments clearly. She must make sure that the plane stays at the same altitude. Terrified of crashing, Sara decides to gain altitude to fly over the storm. In a panic, Jackson tries to dissuade the girl from the crazy idea, but she doesn't listen to him. They are finally able to get above the storm cloud and rejoice over the beautiful skies. However, the happiness is short-lived as they experience altitude sickness, as Freddie had predicted.
Oh, the dials are sort of moving.
I'm fine.
The female loses consciousness, and the plane quickly descends. Sara is unable to halt the fall, even though Jackson is able to get her to wake up. They level out the flying machine and survive by some amazing stroke of luck. But their compass malfunctioned during the descent, sending them irreversibly off track. Jackson recalls how to create a compass using unconventional methods. They are able to determine their exact location in this way, and Sara heads back west. Finally, the couple manages to make it out of the storm, but they have expended far too much fuel to do so. Sara notices that one of the tanks is almost completely empty and decides to switch to another, but even with time, the fuel level drops sharply and doesn't rise back at all. Jackson speculates that the gasoline tank could have malfunctioned because of damage sustained during the storm. He chooses to climb out because he is adamant about identifying and fixing the source of the failure. She understands that they have little hope of surviving without gasoline. Jackson urges the girl to slow down while securing himself with a rope. With caution, he crawls out of the aircraft and eventually makes it to the engine room after many failed efforts. He finds the brake there and seals it off, but the next moment he accidentally slips and falls, injuring his arm. Jackson manages to grab onto the rung with his healthy arm, and the girl, securing the wheel in one position, rushes to the guy's aid. His safety rope gets stuck in the wheel of the plane. Sara helps him reach the cockpit by chopping the rope and lending a helping hand.
1, 2, 3!
The girl makes an incredible effort to bring Jackson inside. With dismay, she looks at his arm and sees that he has a significant fracture. She applies alcohol to the open cut. The girl then applies a tourniquet on it using the first aid equipment. The pair looks at the dashboard again after decompressing and notices that there is just 5% petrol remaining. Sara recommends losing weight to gain time and reduce fuel use. When Sara initially tosses away all the chairs and bags, a boat that is sailing below notices. Soon the couple realizes that this is not enough, and they look toward Freddie's breathless body together. She tears off the family photo of the happy Freddie from the dashboard and slips it into the man's breast pocket. Sara tearfully pushes him down. The female then starts to empty the liquor containers, but just then Jackson has an idea to use the rum as fuel.
It's Solomon's rocket fuel, right? It's ethanol. I mean, couldn't it be used as plane fuel?
Sara chooses to complete the task since the man is unable to replenish the tanks due to his severe wounds. She musters the bravery to step outside and ascend to the plane's roof. After she arrives at the wing, Jackson offers her alcohol, and she starts pouring it into the petrol tank. Sara tries to stand again after emptying all the rum bottles, and she amazingly manages to stay upright. The fuel level rises somewhat when the gamble turns out to be worthwhile. Along the trip, Jackson tells the girl he's seen a little island where they may attempt to land. The girl decides to listen to the guy and takes the main pilot's seat. The couple notifies the dispatcher of their intentions, hoping he can hear them. The worst-case scenario is when the plane's engine fails and the gasoline runs out entirely. The aerial vehicle starts to glide and continues to fly in this manner for a while. Sara chooses to express her regret to her ex-partner for whatever hurt she may have caused him after realizing the seriousness of the issue. Jackson offers his apology as well for being egotistical and unable to respect his lover's decisions.
Why do you hate saying goodbye so much?
Honestly, I think I'm terrified because you make me want to stay.
Jackson spots the little island through the glass, gliding approaching land. When she tries to land, she totally loses control of the airplane due to low altitude. Jackson attempts in vain to notify an emergency landing to the dispatcher by shouting at them. Despite Sara's best efforts, the plane falls into the water and flips over. Water instantly begins to fill the fuselage while the couple remains trapped inside. Sara manages to open the door and swim to the surface. When she lunges back to save the man, she finds him unconscious and wedged between the plane's sinking wing. Before the plane plummets to the ocean below, the girl takes a life jacket from the cockpit and wraps it around the man's neck. Jackson regains consciousness when she performs CPR on him and spits out seawater. The weary pair collapses into the beach, relieved to be saved. They fall asleep for a bit, and when they wake up, the surrounding area is nearly entirely flooded.
It's just a sandbar. It'll disappear with the tide.
Sara is inconsolable when she realizes they have little hope of surviving. She looks around desperately, trying to find rescue, but only the vast sea surrounds them. Gradually, the ground begins to fall from under the couple's feet. Jackson hands his sweetheart his life jacket after realizing he has little hope of surviving and is completely worn out. Sara, however, declines and declares that they are a team and that she will stick with him through everything. Sharks come to investigate as Jackson's wound opens up. Feeling that their time is running out, the couple declares their love for one another. But just then, a little fishing boat that has heard their distress calls comes up to them. Using her every remaining power, Sara drags Jackson to the boat. They manage to get on board before the sharks reach them. The pair that survives swears never to part ways again and to give each other a kiss at the end. Could the main characters have survived without each other's help? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more thrilling content.